Warning, the Renegade Recruiter is not for the soft, timid, or faint-hearted. If you need permission or seek approval from your mother, spouse, mates in the pub, or anyone else for that matter, this really isn't for you. If any of what you've heard puts you off in the slightest, I advise you not to listen any further. You've been warned. Prepare yourself for the no bullshit, zero fluff. Quick, dirty, and uncensored secrets for any serious recruitment, staffing, and search business owner who wants to earn more money with less work and fewer headaches, without having to kiss ass or bend over backwards to please anyone. He's a relentless and fearless renegade who will stop at nothing to reveal the harsh, unforgiving, and brutal truth about what it really takes to succeed in this business. He's a guy people love to hate and hate to love. It's your host, Terry Edwards. The Renegade Recruiter is unleashed.
Hello. This is Terry Edwards, Renegade Recruiter, and welcome to another episode of Renegade Recruiter Unleashed. And we're joined by our co-host, Drew. How are you, Drew?
I'm good, thank you, Terry. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Very good. And welcome to this podcast. Well, today we're going to be talking about counting the calories in your recruitment or search business. Now, before you think, what? Kind of bear with me. A couple of days, this Monday just gone, Drew and I were in London. We're meeting with our Recruitment Marketing Elite mastermind group in London. And you know, we meet up every 12 weeks, and we meet up for a couple of days, and we really look at what's going on in the business, and we share stuff and share their success and what's worked well and so on. But what we always do is we always have a meal together, and on the second night we're having a meal together, and I got talking to one of my clients, Neal. Neal's really likes to look after himself health-wise, and he goes to the gym on a regular basis, and he watches his diet and so on. And Neal shared something which I thought was really interesting. Neal was saying that we've got talking about habits, whether it's fitness habits or eating habits and so on. And he said that one of his not so positive habits was that when he was hungry, he would literally go to the fridge and eat whatever took his fancy without any thought of the consequences. And this is from a guy that really does look after himself. And I'm sure you'd agree, Drew. Neal looks a very fit guy, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But he was aware that probably wasn't a good idea, just eating whatever took his fancy. And what he wanted to do is really kick this negative habit. So what he's telling me over dinner that what he'd done is he then downloaded an app for his iPhone. Now this app allowed him to measure how many calories in the food that he was actually consuming. So there's the food and drinks that he actually consumed. Now I know people that are perhaps into health and fitness will argue that it's not all about calories, and you're right, it's calories. Not all calories are bad, but I'm sure you'd agree at least measuring the number of calories you're consuming would be helpful, and that's exactly what Neal did. He started to measure the number of calories that he was actually consuming. Now here's the good thing about that. Neal didn't have to develop any new skills. Neal didn't have to work out at the gym any harder. But by simply being aware of the number of calories he was consuming, what it created for him, it caused him to think very carefully about what he was actually eating. And there's a very important message in that for you as a recruitment or search firm owner. I think it was Peter Drucker who said, anything that you can measure, you can improve. Now, I found that to be true in both personal life and business life. And what I mean by that, in your business life, there's some just fundamental things that you as an owner or director of a recruitment or search firm can, if you start to measure these things, would have a massive benefit to your business. Before I go on to that, is there anything you want to add to what I've said so far, Drew?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just that like a big mistake you see from so many recruitment search firm owners in their businesses. They don't know the numbers. They're not measuring any metrics in their business, although they're measuring just the basic metrics, and so they're missing out on areas they could get they could very easily improve just by measuring. Yeah.
So we're going to give you some examples of some things that would be well worth measuring to you. I think one of the first things I would encourage you to measure is what's called your LTV, or lifetime value of a client. Let me explain what I mean by that. When you get a client, And let's say when you get a client and you win an assignment with you, and let's say that fee is, just for the sake of this conversation, is 15,000 of your local currency. Typically, when you win a client, for most recruitment and search firm owners that we work with, that client will give you other assignments. It's very rare that it's a one-off. Now, sometimes it can be, but typically they will give you a number of assignments. So let's say over the lifetime of that relationship, this one client, let's say over the lifetime they stay with you for 2 years, that decision maker, that hiring manager is with that organization for 2 years. And over those 2 years, they give you 4 assignments. And each assignment, as I said, is worth 15,000. The lifetime value of that particular client is 60,000 of your local currency, because it's 4 times 15. Now, if you dig deeper into this, and it's a question that I ask clients every time I speak to them, for potential clients when we speak to them, what's your lifetime value? Often they have no idea. One of the things we will encourage you to do is just go away and just have a look. And some of the numbers that come back to me, I was talking to a guy in America some time ago. It worked out his average lifetime value was $180,000 was his average lifetime value. Now, here's why that's important. If you then know that every time you get a client, they're worth to you, be it 180,000, be it 100,000, or be it 60,000, it kind of helps you then with your decision making when it comes to making an investment to acquire that client. Because to acquire any client is going to require an investment. It's going to require some time. It's going to require some investment in what we call client acquisition. Does that make sense, Drew?
Yeah, it does. It makes perfect sense. And again, this is the reason I think being a business owner is, being a business owner or being involved in a business that you have you can directly influence the number of sales you make, things like that. Because again, knowing the lifetime value of the client, again, it's an average. So some will be lower than this, some will be higher, but it's the average lifetime value of your client. It gives you really the power to really aggressively market your business. And here's what I mean by that. So again, the example that Terry gave there is if the lifetime value, the average lifetime value of a client in your business is 60,000, really what you know is that you can, and again, how much return you get is up to you, but you can get a better idea of how much you are willing to invest in marketing to acquire that client. So one of the things that holds a lot of recruitment search firm owners back is that they're really cautious with marketing. They see it as spending money, and I don't want to spend too much because they see it as money going out of the business. But when you know your numbers and you know lifetime value, it gives you better information to go into the market with. So if your average lifetime value is 60,000, are you willing to invest 20,000 to get 60,000 back? And again, that's going to be down to you as an individual, whether you are or not. But I mean, you speak to a lot of investment bankers. If you can get a three times the return on your investment or a double the return, that's some good numbers. That's some very good numbers.
Absolutely, yeah.
And again, even property investors. There's so many different types of investment that you can do that won't get you the kind of return that marketing your business properly will get you. But in order to do that, you need to know your numbers. You need to know, for one, again, Debbie's going to give some more examples, but you definitely need to know the lifetime value of each client. Again, while we was at the Elite meeting, one of our clients there, he was talking about some advertising he'd done on LinkedIn, and again, he couldn't remember exactly how much that he spent on advertising, but he knew he had spent less than £10,000, and he'd got one client from that. So the one client had already paid him £25,000, so he was already in profit, but the average lifetime value was £80,000. So again, there's not many places where you can invest 10,000, and he actually was less than 10,000, but there's not many places you can invest 10,000 and get 80,000 back. But in order to do that, you need to know the numbers, you need to know the lifetime value of the average client in your business.
Yeah, really good point. Yeah. So that's the first thing I would encourage you to do. So go away and do some research on that, and you must be able to answer that question. What's the lifetime value of a client? Something else worth.
By the way, Terry, again, just for anyone who doesn't know, can you share how you would go about working that out?
Yeah, sure. So literally, if you look at your invoices that you have, and then the number of clients that you have, That will give you some idea of the lifetime value of a client. Is that what you meant, Drew?
Yeah, so again, essentially, if you look at how much revenue you've generated over the life of your business and how many clients have been responsible for that revenue, then that will give you the average lifetime value of each client, up to this point anyway.
Yeah. Excellent. Another thing to measure is, and there are so many things, but we're just going to give you a few things that you really should be measuring. Number of sales and the activity that led to those sales. So let's say in a month you acquire, let's make it easy, you acquire 5 new clients in a month. What was the activity that led to that? So example, if you did an email campaign, if you did a pay-per-click campaign that we talked about, perhaps you did a webinar, perhaps you did a direct mail campaign, but looking at that numbers, because if you said, actually, we've got 5 new clients, and these 5 new clients came from 20 references or testimonials we got from existing clients. So we're working with other clients, and these other clients gave us 20 names of other people to reach out to, and we spoke to those 20 people, and our conversion rate on that was 25%. And so we know the numbers. Can you see what that means to you? Because what that means to you is, if you then said, actually, next month we want twice that number of new clients, you kind of know that you need twice that number of testimonials or references to get those kind of numbers. You've got something you've got something there to measure, so you know the activity that's led to those. Does that make sense, Drew?
Yeah, it does. And I think, again, number of sales is something that most recruitment and search owners, they do measure that, and they know how many sales they've made in any given month. One thing they tend to neglect, though, is the activity that led to those sales. So on the months where things have gone badly, do you know why? Do you know where the drop-off was in activity? And on the months when things have gone really well, do you know why? Again, do you know what activity led to those results? Because, again, once you measure it and you know what activity led to those results, the good results and the bad results, you can either avoid the activity that led to the bad results or do more of the activity that led to the good results as well.
You're listening to the Renegade Recruiter Unleashed podcast. For show notes, additional resources, and podcast updates, head over to www.therenegaderecruiter.com.
Yeah. But you again, most recruitment and search runners, they don't measure the activity.
Yeah.
They just sort of, if they have a good month, it's sort of, to them anyway, it's happened by chance. They have no idea what activity led to that particular number of sales. Again, another example from our elite group, one of our clients, he knows for sure that for every 100 calls he makes, so again, just to be clear, these aren't cold calls, he's calling warm leads that he's generated through other marketing methods, but for every 100 calls he makes, he will get 1 retainer from that. So again, when you know these numbers, you almost have the ability to print money, because you can do the activity. If you want more sales, you just do more of the activity, but you need to know what activity gets you the best return.
Yeah, and in that case, that particular client, so every 100 calls is equal to 1 retainer, and on the completion of every retainer, it's worth 30,000 to him. So again, can you see the power of that when you go, right, I will call 100 people, and as Drew said, these are not cold calls, by the way. These are 100 people that know me. I know that I will win. And by the way, that's 100 calls. He's not going to speak to 100 decision makers. Let's be absolutely clear there. But he will call 100 people, and on average, he knows that he will. It means to him an additional 30,000. This is UK £30,000. That's what it means to him, which in dollars is what? 40,000. Another client I was talking to in America, we just got talk. In fact, he's based in Canada, and he just said something. He said, "Oh, that client there, that client was worth to me 26,000." I said, "Oh, that's great." I said, "Out of interest, how did you get that client?" And he said, "Oh, hang on a minute." And he went back. He came back a few minutes later. He said, "That was from a direct mail campaign I did 3 months earlier." He said, "I spent $3,000 on a direct mail campaign." He sent out a letter to 6,000 potential clients. And he got something like 42 leads or something, and so far he's generated $26,000 from a direct mail campaign. Again, can you see the power of that when you know these numbers? And another one, it would be, what marketing methods generates the most leads? What marketing methods is the most profitable to you? In total, for you as an owner or director of a recruitment and search firm, I'm sure you know this, but there's 150 different marketing methods that you can use for generating leads. And I'm not including cold calling that, because I don't think you should. I won't go into that now, but none of this is including cold calling. So let's say you know there's 150, and let's say that you say, right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use these, because very few recruiters and search firms use all 150, and they tend to use 10 or 20. But let's say they're using 20 different methods for generating leads, and they log the results of all those results. So they say, right, we'll do some email marketing. We're going to do some LinkedIn pay-per-click marketing. We're going to do some Google pay-per-click. We're going to do some Facebook pay-per-click. That always works exceptionally well. And we're going to do some particular activity with social media that we know that generates leads. And you then log all the activity, and then you log the number of sales leads that come in, and then you look at which of those convert. But now what it also means is you can look at which marketing activity gives you the best results. Now think about that for a minute. If you had like 20 marketing activities, and you can look at them at the beginning of every quarter, and you can say, right, by the end of this quarter, I want to generate X, Y, Z. You now know exactly what you need to do to generate X, Y, Z, because you've got all the numbers. If you wanted to double your sales over the next 12 months, you've literally now got the formula for doing that. I mean, how powerful is that? Anything to add to that, Drew?
Yeah, again, I think the most powerful thing from this is because often people make the mistake in thinking they don't measure the whole, they don't see the bigger picture when it comes to measuring the marketing method. So often you'll hear recruitment and search firm owners talk about how expensive a particular, like for example, LinkedIn pay-per-click is one of the, in terms of pay-per-click, is one of the most expensive routes you can go down, right? If you're just looking at the cost. But for a lot of business, including ours, including a lot of our clients as well, although it might be the most expensive per click, it's actually where you get the best quality leads and where the business that you get from it is the most profitable. So you could easily make the mistake of thinking, because it's the most expensive, I'll do one of the cheaper options. I'll try something else. But it's the profit you want to be measuring. You want to be measuring not just the number of leads that you get, but also the profit that generated those leads as well.
Yeah, and just going off track a bit, just to clarify what we mean by LinkedIn pay-per-click for those that don't know, just very quickly, LinkedIn pay-per-click, what that means is you can put an ad on LinkedIn and you can specify who you want to see your ad. So every time you go onto LinkedIn, at the top of the page on the right-hand side in the corner there, you'll see some ads. Now, the ads that you see are aimed at your profile. So you can put an ad and target your market. So only those individuals will see your ad. It's free to display the ad. You will pay if they click on your ad. So if they've got some interest, then you'll pay. So you're only going to pay now if they have some interest. So that's what we mean by LinkedIn pay-per-click. And I said you can do it on Facebook, you can do it on Google, you can do it on Twitter. There's other platforms as well. But some search firms call it the gold rush for search because because of the return that you get. You make the investment and you'll get the return. But there's one thing getting the return. The question you may be thinking now is, but when will that lead convert into a client? Again, if you measure it, you'll know. Here's what I know, by the way. Just because a client clicks on your ad, let's say on LinkedIn pay-per-click or on your direct mail and direct response to your direct mail activity today, it's very rare in our experience that they will convert into a fee-paying client within the next 10 days or so. In our experience, it will probably take about 60 to 90 days before they convert into a fee-paying client. Because the first part of the marketing activity is just what we call get them to raise their hand and indicate they have some interest in engaging a search firm. It doesn't mean that they're going to say, hey, I've clicked on your ad, I want to, here's my credit card details, let's do business now. That's unlikely to happen immediately. But imagining that you knew the answer to that question, you said, right, from the moment we get a lead to the moment the client pays us as a retainer is 62 days. And you knew those numbers. And you also knew that every time you got a client, as we said earlier, that over the lifetime of that relationship, that's worth 100,000 to you. So now you're saying, right, 62 days from now, we've generated 100 leads, let's say. And what we know is 62 days from now, we're going to convert at least, 4 or 5 of those into new clients. And of those 4 or 5, we know that the average is. Can you see what's happening with the numbers now? And if your average lifetime value is, let's call it 100,000 for the sake of this conversation, you kind of know that 61 days from now, you've got 4 new clients over the lifetime, and now going to spend 400,000 with you because you know your numbers. But you need to be measuring how long, on average, it takes to convert into a fee-paying client. Anything to add to that, Drew?
To that particular point, again, just to sort of round everything up, the reason you want to know your numbers is yes, so you know what's working and what's not. But the key thing is so you can improve it. That's the key thing. The way that you dominate your market, the way that you become the number one search firm is that you know your numbers, right? So let's again, just give you an example. Let's say you know that the average lifetime value of a client is 80,000. You know that actually you get 20,000 of that back within 60 days of them becoming a lead. You know that making 100 calls will get you a retainer. So you can literally print money because most competitors won't know these numbers. They won't be able to. They won't have listened to this podcast. They won't, even if they have listened, they won't action what they've heard. But if you know these numbers, you can go out to the market and you can scale your business with predictability. You can say, right, today's January the 1st. I am going to invest £1,000 in LinkedIn pay-per-click, just for example. I'm going to get 100 leads from that. I know from that 100 leads, that's going to lead to one retainer that's going to be worth to me 25,000. So already I'm in profit. Then I know by in 3 years' time, that 25,000 is going to turn into 80,000. So actually, if I spend 10,000 January the 1st rather than just 1,000, I can really scale those numbers. And that's the trick to growing your business. That's the trick to dominating your market, having a number of leads you want, having a number of clients you want. You need to know your numbers, and then you can just scale it up like that. At the same time of scaling it up, you're improving at each stage. Okay, so at the moment, it takes me 100 calls to get one retainer. What if I improved what I'm saying during those calls? Could I get it down to 90 calls, or 80 calls, or 50 calls? What if actually for £1,000 I get 100 leads? What if I improve my marketing, so actually for £1,000 I'm getting 200 leads? Again, can you see how this is how you scale your business, how you improve? But you need to know the numbers first. You need to count the calories in your recruitment or search business.
Excellent, Drew. Well summarised. So, and just to finish off there, if you can measure it, you can manage it. So what I'd encourage you to do is just go away and look at your numbers. And Drew made a really good point there. Some of you listening to this, in fact, I'll be as bold as saying most of you listening to this will listen to that, go, that was interesting, and won't do anything with it. About 20% of you will go, oh, that's really interesting, and will actually go away and do something with it. So those 20%, those action takers, go away and do something with what we've just shared with you. Understand what your lifetime value is. Understand the activity that you need to put in to get the leads. And get all those numbers. Understand, get the numbers to how long it takes for you from generating a lead to converting them into a new client. Because as Drew said, once you can do this, you've literally got license to print money. Drew, thank you ever so much for your input today. That was very, very much appreciated. If you want the show notes of this podcast or other podcasts, please go to therenegaderecruiter.com. This is Terry Edwards, the Renegade Recruiter Elite.
Terry, just to cut in again, if you've enjoyed this show and you want to hear more, remember to share it with anybody who you think could enjoy it too. And also leave us a review on iTunes. Let us know what you think. Again, it's a free show. We want to keep it going, but we need to know that people are actually enjoying it. So leave a review on iTunes. Let us know what you think, and we'll keep it coming.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Drew. Until next time, take care. Take action and be relentless.